Firstly, on the bike show, we got to go on the new Suzuki GSX 8S. And we felt privileged, as the bike was not supposed to exist in SA yet. And this was a specially brought in homologation unit. The downside is that we got only one lap of the block on a busy Randburg morning. So it wasn't exactly an in-depth analysis. On that note, we welcome you to the pits of a much bigger block called Red Star Raceway, where Suzuki is hosting the launch of, well, everything. Their entire range is here and journalists can ride anything. But right now we are not interested in everything, only this, a revisit to the 8S. And this time we have the entire day. So let's get into it then.
The 8S feels like a naked bike. I mean, the sort of traditional naked bike, or traditional as we know them now, the sort of standardized naked bike. So obviously no wind protection whatsoever, which is fine, because I've always said that either you need no wind protection or lots. And when you put a little bit, then it kind of shoots air into your helmet and it's less comfortable. So completely naked, not bad. Obviously then you've got the handlebars that are kind of slightly high, very wide, sort of very controllable, easy to use, that kind of thing. You've got a seat that's not completely uncomfortable. It's a bit firm, so it's like sporty, but not necessarily uncomfortable. And foot pegs, tons of room on the foot pegs. So that's all very good.
The 8S sits delightfully in that naked mid-range point where at 165,950 Rand, it is something that a huge chunk of people could actually consider buying. For that to be accurate, it needs to not only be affordable, but damn good too. And with that, let's start from the rider's view.
It's got this dash, it's a TFT dash. It's not the most complex, it hasn't got like a million graphics and all sorts of things like that, which saves money, which is good. It's also, I kind of like it, it's got these bright colors, sort of dark background, bright colors, sort of reds and whites and blues, it all sort of stands out very nicely. Also, everything you need to read is very clear in there and ready. It's not like on some of the bikes where you got to really sort of search around for what you're looking for, which is not only inconvenient, but, you know, a tad dangerous. Everything is kind of there. The switch gears, also very simple. I mean, this is not the most sort of complex motorcycle. It's not like you need a IT degree to set all this up. It's got some very simple button layout, very easy to reach, straightforward, very there. And so far so good.
The motor is brand new, and that's a big deal because Suzuki doesn't do that very often. The majority of the bikes Suzuki sell have rehashed versions of older motors, like the original TL1000, the GSX-R 1000, and of course the legendary Hayabusa. But this is its own brand new platform, and that means Suzuki is serious about it, and there should be a lot more to come. For now, it's a 776cc laid out in the now fashionable parallel twin format, with a typical 270-degree crank to make it feel less parallel twinny and more V20. It pushes 83 horsepower and 78 Newton meters of torque.
And then down the straight, 150, 60, we're still in fourth gear and brake. That was just under 170 in fourth gear down the back straight of Red Star. Not bad, so this will get over 200 or more than 200 kilometers an hour.
What is even more interesting is that Suzuki have fitted not one counterbalance shaft to smooth out the motor, but two.
And that's sort of weird because when you're using words like MotoGP and sports and things like that, you don't use words like double balance shaft and things like that, because that means less horsepower. It does. I mean, it's more drag on the engine, more rotating mass, more everything, and that means less power. But I'm very glad they did. Watch this. We're going to go into this It's a hairpin bend onto the back straight. We're going to do it in 4th gear. You should really be taking this in first. We're going to get the speed all the way down to, revs will go down to about 2.5. You open the throttle. I mean, it's okay, it's not pulling as hard as it could be. At about 5-ish it starts pulling hard. But there's no chattering, there's no clanking, there's no cluttering, there's nothing. It's so very, very smooth. In fact, it's so smooth all the way through the red line. All the way through the rev lanes. This thing is just so smooth. And it seems to be like the horsepower curve is just a straight line. I mean, okay, let's just say from about 4,000 RPM till red line, it's sort of a straight line.
From a smooth climb up the speedo, there's the short trip back down again.
On the brakes, he's on Nissan calipers, Nissan brakes, Japanese. They work well. They've got a decent stopping power. I'm not going to say they're the most sophisticated brakes I've ever used in my life, but they work. You get you pull them hard and brake bike stops.
Good stopping force is grand, especially on a public road, but the track often needs more. The suspension is from KYB, and that's good. KYB is a brand you can rely on. But to keep costs from running away, these are not exactly top shelf models, and there are no clickers to make adjustments. So what you see is what you get.
Yeah, and in standard setup, the way they are now, they're not bad. They're not bad. Very, very often, when you got suspension that's not adjustable, it's sort of set up not quite the way you want it, if that's... So it's either like very roady, very tracky. This sort of seems to work. It's a bit of everything. It's like it's kind of solid, it's kind of stiff, so it works well on this track. But I can imagine it's fairly comfortable. There are a few bumps on this track and none of them have dislocated any spines, so that's good. But if you really push hard, especially on these front forks, it starts getting a little bit overwhelmed.
The curb mass is 202 kilograms, so it isn't quite as light on its toes as it could be. This is coupled with a steel frame, and while this all sounds a little bit old-fashioned, it seems to work.
Into this corner, something about this bike, this chassis, is it's so solid. Okay, the front forks, maybe if you really push it hard, trail braking right into the corner, it'll get a little bit overwhelmed, but the chassis itself, it's just so solid, it's not wobbling, it's not anything. I mean, even when the front suspension feels a little bit overwhelmed, it's not like it's wanting to try and kill me. It's just sort of saying, hey, whoa there, wasn't quite built for this, but I'm glad you're having fun.
And that leads us on to one or two little issues.
So problems, well, a good thing is this motor is extremely smooth. I mean, it's like German kind of smooth. But on the downside, this motor is extremely smooth. I mean, German kind of smooth. So it's good because you don't really feel much going through your hands. It's never going to rattle your knuckles loose, nothing like that. But at the same time, it doesn't quite speak to you as much. Like Suzuki had the SV650, the V-twin, the V. That used to talk a lot. It was always constantly, being your buddy, hey pal, how you doing? So a bit like sort of a very, very polite butler. James and Bruce Wayne's mansion. I mean, very nice guy, very efficient, lovely, do anything you want, lovely to have around, but not really your buddy. The other thing is that either this is an excellent track bike or a terrible one or the other. Now, if you're doing a track day and you're in sort of fast B group or A group, you're not going to enjoy this very much. The suspension is going to get a bit overwhelmed, and the foot peg just keeps decking, so you're not going to be able to brake that lap time you want to brake because, the foot peg is going to be in the way the whole time. Also, you might want a little bit more horsepower. But however, if you're DC group, so either a novice or someone who doesn't take it seriously, you're going to love this bike. It's all confidence. You're going to feel so good. It's going to make you want to go harder, faster. You're not going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel so good. And that's how I think That's how I think this is gonna feel on the road. It's how I felt going around the block. It's a very, very confident motorcycle, this. It's very, very well made.
Around Red Star, this bike will not exactly break lap records, but it is so much fun, and in a universal sort of way. I can't wait to get it out on a public road again, and properly this time.